My deep appreciation of theater history was instilled in me by Tom Empey, a college mentor to me and hundreds, if not thousands of others. While teaching Greek theater terms, he would grab the fabric of his slacks and say, "You see these pants? Euripides, Eumenides," making light of content that could be considered rather dry and stuffy while still maintaining respect for the art, which is what I want to do with this podcast. For each episode, I invite a guest from the many paths my theater career has taken me down. I give my guests no idea what we'll be talking about, but they know we're going to find an outrageous story about theater history and perhaps get a better understanding about why we're still doing it after all these years. So, welcome to Euripides Eumenides, and I am your host, Aaron Odom.
Apocalypse, apocalypse, I said, why you wanna show up now? Just when the heart of my life was getting good. I'll give you one more chance. Walk on out of the door, yeah. Get your ass to getting where the getting is good.
Good morrow, Eumenidites, or good e'en, whichever it may be for you. This is Aaron Odom from Trident Theater, bringing you another episode of Euripides Eumenides, a theater history podcast. You know, my Eumenidites, in the early planning stages of the creation of this podcast, I consulted with several people who I trust intimately to give me some honest critique about the idea of doing a podcast focused strictly on theater history, and a lot of them had the same question. Is there enough material to make a podcast like that and keep it interesting and keep it humorous? Well, I may be biased, but I think that's been sufficiently proven that there is. In fact, you'll definitely know I've thrown in the towel when I just record something and come on here and say, "That's it! We've done it! We have covered all of theater." But that's the beauty of theater. It's one of the few arts that people say has been dying for the better part of literally millennia and still keeps on ticking. In fact, I could probably just do an entire podcast using the format I'm using today, the Play Spotlight, and still have enough to talk about for several years, if not decades. There are just way too many good plays out there. And new ones keep getting written all the time. So, frankly, my Eumenidites, we're not going anywhere. This play, however, has been in the back of my mind to dissect for a long time. And interestingly enough, I've never written any papers on this in all of my studies. Well, I guess, not until now anyway, and nor did I perform in it at any time. But as I explain in the episode, I've seen this play in performance twice, and man, has it stuck with me. And I've got a feeling it's going to stick with you too. Joining me are returning guests Valeri Hovland and Asia Stockwell. Valeri has been the vice president of the Community Theater Board, over which I'm the president, and I so appreciate having Valeri as a source, not only to help me make some tough decisions when the times come, but to help our theater give high-quality content to our little town in rural Wyoming. Valeri has been involved with the theater for years, earning a theater degree herself, and being actively on stage in about every place she's really ever been. And meanwhile, Asia Stockwell is something of a newcomer to our theater community, but is such a compelling and vibrant character in her own right. Plus, her profession as a bodywork expert leads itself really well to the topic of this episode. Now, both Valeri and Asia have been cast members in my annual Rocky Horror Picture Show, which I've covered several times on this podcast. So, if you're unfamiliar with just how seriously we take that, all the while having an absolute blast with like-minded thespians, I would suggest going back and listening to those episodes after you're done with this one. But very soon, you'll see why having two amazing women who understand sensuality on stage are excellent guests here. So, without much ado, here is Season 2, Episode 6, Play Spotlight, Summer and Smoke by Tennessee Williams. Ladies, it's been quite a year in the theater here.
Yes.
We have all contributed to a very interesting season of community theater. Valeri and I, we are the president and vice president of the board. I'm president. She's serving as my vice president. I've come to you with a lot of
it's been with some big decisions and decisions that this small community theater should not have to make.
I know.
Yes.
I know. Well, I'm thinking of a particular one. I won't mention too many specifics, but a porch came into mind, and we didn't have to be there very long.
No, that was last year's decision. This year's decision was body comedy and inappropriate jokes and alcohol.
Right.
That was this year's big decision.
Yeah. These are fun. But both of you, I've had in my Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Yes.
Oh my God. How much fun have we had with this thing?
A blast.
I
A
loved
blast.
it. It was great.
Yeah. You've already told me, Asia, you want to come out again this year.
I would love to.
That's my plan too.
You're planning to? Oh
Yeah.
my God.
I want to be the reigning oldest cast member you've ever had.
Okay. Do you want to know what I have in mind?
I'm hoping it's big because it's the anniversary.
Last year we went really hard on the camp. I want to hit the sex really hard this year.
Yay! She was sexy as hell as Janet.
Yeah, that's
Well,
that's what I'm feeling this year too.
Yeah.
Well, I'm seeing this a lot. Like, a lot of people are really embracing that side of themselves, particularly women. There's a lot of, I've been seeing it for years. People are taking, like, pole classes and everything. And,
God, if we had a pole studio.
right? But I'm seeing people now taking things like heels classes
Yeah.
and gloves classes and all that kind of stuff. And it's just the art of, I have this glove that goes up to my elbow, and I'm going to be taking it off, and by the end, you are going to be just salivating in your seat.
And all I
What-
will have taken off is the glove.
Right.
And that's something I really love is it kind of feels like it's bringing back like the wrist, right?
Ooh.
You can see my wrist.
Oh, yes.
Oh, or
Yes.
stockings,
Oh,
like pulling
God.
on and off stockings.
Oh,
The
stockings.
ankle.
I was
Your
going to
ankle is
mention
so sexy.
Yes.
your ankles are
Yeah, and fan dances are
making
coming
me
back.
think things. Yeah. But that's kind of my point. It's like it's not hearkening back to anything anymore. It's now vogue again
yes.
in a way, which I think is amazing. And
We don't have to be a TNA show anymore. We can show you less and show you more at the same time.
Right.
And take it back.
right. And Valerie, I understand that part of that has been in your theater career.
Yes, I'm all about being true to yourself and showing what you want and being who you want to be on stage without any judgment.
Right. And Asia, I get a text from a mutual friend of ours a couple of years ago who says, I have a friend who wants to do some things on stage. And then you show up and you talked about how much fun you had in high school with being together with people and everything. And I mean, at the end of the day, it's not much of a theater show that we're doing. We're not really like learning lines. We're mouthing them and everything, but it does give us that opportunity.
Yeah.
And, we've talked about it on the show several times before of how I really focus on making sure everybody is absolutely comfortable with themselves, that nobody is put in a position where they're uncomfortable with other people in the room, especially since we have to be so intimate with each other. Which is interesting, because I want to ask you, because after this, you opened up like a whole new line of your profession.
Yeah.
I mean, you traditionally do like body work, like massage, and you did that really cool sound bath for us that one
that
time.
was so
That was
amazing.
But you've got this other thing
Yeah.
that the best way I can describe it, I'm going to let you go ahead and do it, is it's another line of body work.
Yes, very much so. It's very
And
much
it's
another
so
line.
interesting.
Thank you for that. Yeah, I was actually, I hadn't started the program, my coaching certification program for love, sex, and relationships while doing Rocky, but I had signed up, so it was like I knew it was coming, and so then that was part of why I didn't participate last year, is because I was still deep in the program.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's love, sex, and relationships that's rooted in tantric philosophy. So
Oh, wow.
yeah, it's very much about like honoring the body, sacred sexuality, sensuality, the self-expression, and in all of its forms, and that it is expressed through all of us in its own unique way, and we get to cultivate that in safe space, and like taking shame and guilt out of like our sensual and sexual experiences, whether it is with ourselves or with a partner or multiple partners. Like kink is very celebrated in the community, and it's a lot of education around like this flow of energy through our being and our body that is like our life force energy, that is the creative force in all of our lives. Like, it is the creative force in which brings us as humans into this planet, right? And it's the creative force in which brings forth our expression of art. So playwriting,
Yes.
any of that stuff.
Yes.
It's passion.
Yes,
Well,
absolutely.
and that also relayed into your involvement in theater this year, in which you were one of the speakers in the Vagina Monologues.
Yeah.
You got to do the section, I think it was called He Likes to Look at It. Fascinating. And that was our best seller this last year for this community theater.
It really was.
Sold out like over half of the audiences. Sold out. I mean, people weren't even walking up. They're like, I'm not even going to get a shot. But
and so much buzz in the community. It really had a huge amount.
and which I think speaks more to a thing of very similar to what you're talking about with your business. It's not about, well, go ahead and feel dirty.
Yes.
It's about recognizing that this is actually a part of everybody to a greater or lesser degree. You know, I mean, almost like on the same level as anything. It's like, how much do you enjoy sporting events? Maybe it's a lot, maybe it's a little, but but it's not telling you like you have to enjoy sports. It's just saying, just acknowledge it, get into it.
Yeah, yeah. And it's like, we literally all are here because of it.
That's what I was gonna say.
Like-
the amount of people who you just look in their face and you're like, you do understand how you got here.
Yeah,
and we're just going to continue talking about it in a meaningful fashion.
Yeah, and it's like, I've never, and from a very young age, have not really ever understood how it was so shameful, or like in lots of contexts. Like, yes, it can be abused, like anything, right?
Right.
But like, just how people were just like, make it so wrong and dirty, and your body is wrong and dirty, and it was like, but like, this is how we all are here,
Right.
So how is
And we share it with other
It's a
animals too. I mean, we all.
process.
It's
Right.
exactly. It's a natural process.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's also a part of life that, yes, this is a means to an end. This is the continuation of the population. But it's also fun
Absolutely.
and nice and a soul-affirming activity.
Yes.
But it can also be a sport. It can also be just take your mind off of things. It can also just be a hit and run an activity. It doesn't have to have so much attached to it.
Yeah.
It can or it cannot.
Right.
It's up to you.
Right. And I think, to a greater or lesser degree, here we are in 2025, there's a constant tug of war with anything where people are thinking that they are doing things on the side of propriety and they're trying to save people from something.
What about the children?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, my son Ethan, he's 14 right now, and he, I told him, maybe this is the year you finally watch Rocky Horror, because you might finally be able to like understand what's going on instead of looking at these people and going, that sounds like a really good idea.
So the difference between sexuality, sensuality, and how it relates to a teenage boy? Uh-huh. Oh, that's its own podcast.
I know. But so thank you for sharing about that. That's fascinating. People can find that on Instagram.
Yeah, the Pleasure Disco is
Pleasure
my
Disco.
Instagram page.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, pretty cool stuff. But as it relates to this topic that I found today, I have been wanting to talk about this play for so long. And I'm just going to ask both of you. You can say, I have no idea, or don't get me started. Tell me what comes to mind when I ask you about Tennessee Williams and his plays.
I am totally in the dark.
Totally in the dark.
Totally
Okay,
in the
that's
dark.
fine. That's fine.
Part of my theater degree that was not exactly interesting. We read The Glass Menagerie. I was telling you that we read Streetcar. I saw it performed, and it's not my favorite, but it's not my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
But I liked learning more about Tennessee Williams himself and
Yeah.
his struggles.
So many interesting
Yeah,
stories.
and his struggles and how they. When you learn about him and then you see some of his productions, then you're like, oh, I get
Yeah,
it.
that
You were
makes
working
sense.
out your daddy issues. I
Oh
get it.
boy,
Yeah, so,
he had several.
yeah. Well,
Well, I mean, I very similar to you. They came up in
Yeah.
our studies. You have a theater degree, I have a theater degree, and there are those ones that they're like, here's this play, you need to know this play,
It's the
read
best
it.
play ever,
It's
you
the
need to
best
read it.
read it.
Our Town, please read it.
Oh my God, don't. We just dished on the Music Man for a while, and I think I have finally pushed the bile down from my throat. But yeah, anyway. I've been reading plays a long time, and sometime during college, you know, those days when you're just making those declarations about yourself, like this is my favorite thing, and I will die on this hill. I declared Tennessee Williams was my favorite playwright.
I could see that for a young man, but
right?
but now that you've matured and evolved, do you still feel that way?
See, that's just the thing. At that time, I would suggest that I identified with his themes a lot more than with other playwrights, but as I grew older, like you're suggesting, I think those themes seem to elude me. Or the memory about why I enjoyed those plays must have faded since then. Because I remember I thought of this play, I thought of the two of you, and I'm like, oh, this would be great to discuss with these two. And I went, wait, why did I like him so much?
Yeah.
And I mean, you know, I probably just grew other interests. As you grow older, you're like, okay, that pursuit in my life, I'm now done with. But I kept coming back to why Williams just resonated with me so much. So I'd like you to join me on that journey today. I'm going to give you a very eagle-eye view of his work. This is kind of like, this isn't solely his characteristics of his plays, but these are ones that really stick out. And Valerie, you can tell me you're full of it or whatever. But
Okay.
I mean, it's indicative of his work. Most notably, his big three: A Streetcar Named Desire, The Glass Menagerie, and Cat on a Hot Tin Roof.
Oh, I see. I thought you were going to say Night of the Iguana.
Nah, but it isn't. It's definitely in there too.
Yep.
It's definitely in there. If you haven't seen any of these, Streetcar. After we discuss it tonight, I think you'll enjoy Streetcar a little bit more.
But Cat on a Hot Tin Roof is easy to like.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you
I've heard of it, but
Well,
I've
that's-
not watched it.
Yeah, that's
if you-
Liz Taylor.
and it should have been Marilyn.
I know.
It should have been Marilyn. It's this story about a man who's got this incredibly sexy wife, and through the whole thing, you get this idea that maybe he's just not into her, and probably into somebody who looks a little bit more like himself. And I think her costume for most of the play is a slip.
Oh, okay.
She's lightning in a bottle.
Oh my God! And you're like, why won't you make love to me?
Anyway, sorry.
Yeah. So here's some key elements to his work. He likes to find the sensual in the world. Okay, and he's just looking at me like, oh, now I know why I'm here. But I mean, like, there's a sensuality to life that the experience of which seems so antithetical to Southern propriety. You know, you had, I mean, Gone with the Wind days, you're looking at, like, there's this nobility, there's almost this, what is the word? Chivalry.
Yeah.
That, you know, there's ladies and there's lords, and there's certain things you do and there's certain things you don't do. But, you know, everybody knows what's going on behind the closed doors. But at the same time, I mean, the sensuality is like an essential thing to life. You were just saying it. This is how we all got here. That it shouldn't be ignored, nor should it be made the entire focus of someone's life, right? Here's another theme. Exploring why people are attracted to the people they are attracted to and the choices they make because of that. I'm thinking of Streetcar.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
Why Stella picked him?
I got to play like a prototype Stanley. And there was this little storefront theater I worked in Seattle called Stone Soup Theater, and they did what they called the West Coast premiere of a production called 5 by 10, and it was 5 previously unpublished plays. And I played a longshoreman in New Orleans who was on leave for the weekend, and he goes to stay with a guy. Turns out the guy's an amazing drag queen at home. Like,
Interesting.
And I'm not talking about the drag queens we see on today. It's like dressed as a very elegant woman. And that's how she lived her life in private. So my guy figures out I can take advantage of this person really easily. By the end of the play, beats her up and steals from her and leaves. And I fought with the director on this so hard because he does stay the night with this guy one night. And then you see him the next morning. And I fought with the director, not like, you know, fisticuffs or anything, but there's a scene where I'm supposed to just come into my bathrobe. And I want to put a T-shirt on underneath it. She's like, no, that's not what's implied here. I'm like, it's also not implied that the other thing happened. So you got to tell him, you got to give me a reason why you want this to happen. And looking back on it now, I'm like, oh shit, they probably should have taken his T-shirt off.
No. See, wearing the T-shirt is that protection he had from the sensuality and sexuality of this other unknown. So that was his.
Okay.
That was his version of a condom, so to speak.
Yeah.
To put some distance between him and something that was taboo.
Yeah. Okay. So Julie, if you're listening,
I've vindicated you.
I have validation.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's another theme: portraiture of Southern women up to World War II. Because
Yeah.
after that, the Southern woman changed.
Yeah.
You know, we were all doing something different. So it was like, let's look at this breed of woman who died out and why they were the way they were.
Yeah. Some very distinct bells in his plays.
Oh,
and then
my
the
word.
anti-bell.
Yeah. Yeah. And from what, as I was researching for this episode, it all started to die away at World War One.
Okay.
And which is interesting because this play takes place between the turn of the century and 1916. He makes a very strong point of pointing that out in the stage directions. You know, yeah, why is that important? You're like, oh, because the next year we were in war and things were different, really different.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then finally, he's very interested in discovering the poetry of life in spoken word, in the visual world, and just about anywhere else you can find it. So, you know, in the very mundane, like I'm looking out, we're sitting in the Carriage House Theater in Sheridan, Wyoming right now, and I'm looking out at our seats, and they're all this wonderful pattern of deep, rich, dark wood and burgundy cloth. They're all antique chairs, and there is an absolute poetry to the potential energy of this room. And that's what he's looking for, where some people would be like, well, where do I sit?
Right.
Right? So, keeping that in mind, we're going to spotlight one of Tennessee Williams' plays that I think should be considered as a wonderful way to introduce neophytes to the Williams canon. The play is called Summer and Smoke.
Yep.
Nobody.
Never heard it.
Oh my
Never
God.
heard of it.
Oh, and see, it's one of those ones that is like, well, yeah, you might like Abbey Road, but have you heard this from the Beatles? It's one of those ones that once you consume it, it's probably going to change your mind. That's what I'm
So it's a
hoping.
deep cut.
In a way.
Okay.
And it's also completely in your face.
Okay.
It doesn't make you go through the psychological gymnastics of a glass menagerie or a streetcar, where you're like, Blanche, just you're not a belle anymore.
Nope. Okay.
No, stop it. Tom, you're going to leave. Your mom is stuck in the past. Anyway, okay. Oh, and he also loves these big words that describe lurid connotations of the word's meaning. So he doesn't come out and say somebody's an alcoholic or anything like that. Here are a few that I found in this play that are great. Abstemious,
Ooh, that's a $10 word.
meaning not overindulgent, but will allow for some frivolousness.
That sounds almost like abstain, but not quite.
Abstemious.
Abstemious. I'll have a drink, but only one. Castigating.
Cutting something?
It is to berate or chastise harshly.
Okay.
I think the line in this play was something like, what were you doing? I was castigating you, and quite well. Something like that. It's great. Byronic. I might be mispronouncing that. Means arrogant or whimsical, derived from the name and characteristics of Lord Byron.
Huh.
And in this setting, it's meant to describe somebody's hair.
Okay.
The
Alrighty.
young man had Byronic hair. I can't stop doing a Tennessee Williams when I talk about
I
Tennessee
was going
Williams.
to say, there's a southern
Yeah.
accent show.
Yes.
Right there.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely Southern. And this was, I think, my favorite that I found. No, I have another favorite that comes up a little bit later. But crapulence
Yes.
is basically gluttony.
Yes, I've heard that one.
These are great.
Aren't they great? Yeah, and it tells the story. But when he's like, yes, the gentleman suffers from crapulence, you think, oh, is that gout?
And instead of saying it's an evergreen, he's saying it's an evergreen tree rather than saying it's a short, stubby, coniferous. Yeah, he's
Yeah,
using
it's got
one,
pines.
He's got one good word.
Abstemious. So let me tell you about the key characters here. There's really only two of them. But the play is set in the fictional small town of Glorious Hill, Mississippi. Oh my God. Valerie's rolling her eyes, shaking her head. Great. Here we go, Williams. And you will, Asia, get the sense that he really enjoys the melodramatic. A lot of the stuff that you might see, if it's done right, it's really moving. Otherwise, it's on the level of soap opera.
Okay. I did grow up with a mother and a grandmother who, watched Days of Our Lives.
Oh my God.
And so I am fully versed on soap opera.
I wrote a whole sketch at one point. My grandmother, who is now passed, and her sister is like 10 years older. They both passed many years ago, but they used to watch their stories every day. And it was Young and the Restless, and I think it was Bold and the Beautiful. There was at least one or two actors who were on each show,
Yes.
who were on both shows.
Yeah.
And they were at an age when, things started to blend together. And I wrote this whole sketch on. I sat in their living room while they were watching the show. By the way, the TV was at maximum volume. And they were yelling at each other about which characters on which shows got which other characters pregnant.
Oh.
And they couldn't remember which characters on which.
Maybe they
them.
had the touch of the amnesia.
They were blending them and yelling at each other about it. Like, no, he got her pregnant after he lost his eye and got amnesia. But he came back, but he thought his name was Dick when it was really Wally.
And heaven forbid if they changed the child actor in the middle.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And they each had like a little dog in their lap that would yip and yap. And every time it yapped, they each had a fly swatter and they'd smacked it. Oh my God.
I'm seeing Mrs. Rofer caftans and
there were moo-moos and definitely some fuzzy slippers.
Yeah.
So anyway, Williams takes quite a bit of time in his introduction to suggest that the set for Glorious Hill should resemble a vast expanse of sky, and that any structures or scenes that take place inside them should make it seem like the structures are mostly implied. The cyclorama in the back, he says cyclorama several times, obviously, because that's what it is. It should have stars projected on it. For the nighttime scenes, Williams even suggests complete constellations. I think he's like, over here you should have Pleiades, and the Big Dipper should be... And you're like, oh my God.
Well, if the drama's drama.
Yeah, exactly. If it tells the story. But during the day, the skies should be, as Williams describes it, quote, like the sky of Italy, as it is so faithfully represented in the religious paintings of the Renaissance. This is in the stage directions. This is, no audience is ever going to read this. So here it is. You have to get that wonderful color of sky. Thank you, Tennessee. I love it.
Sistine Chapel looking.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, there's another feature of this town that is present throughout, whether it's actually part of the scene or not. At the top of a small hillock in the town park stands a statue of an angel. And here's how Williams describes her in his note to accompany the acting edition of this play. It's a little longer. The angel should be in a gracefully crouching position with its wings lifted and her hands held together to form a cup from which water flows, a public drinking fountain. The stone angel of the fountain should probably be elevated so that it appears in the interior scenes as a symbolic figure, eternity. He just interjects that in a parenthetical reference, brooding over the course of the entire play.
So, Asia, have you ever read a play like with Vagina Monologues, they give you like about an inch worth of maybe what the setting should look like? Mm-hmm. That's obnoxiously excessive.
I think he took a page out of, who is it? I can see his goofy old face, Shaw.
Oh.
Shaw, there was one play that I read that is probably one of my favorite plays that I've ever read, where he's describing what you can see outside a window that's in the upstage wall, and it's 3 pages of stuff.
Oh, wow.
And it's so obnoxious. The wall is maybe a foot and a half by a foot and a half.
How long is it in the scene?
The window? Oh, the window is there all the time.
Oh, well, that's why.
But he's talking about the parks, and he's talking about maybe a baseball field, and then on the other side of the park, it's just like, why? George, come on now. Anyway, Williams goes on further to suggest that the interior, the exterior, and the angel should seem to be all existing as one whole unit throughout the course of the play. There's your poetry. It all fits together.
Beautiful.
Okay.
Detail.
Yeah.
But we ever only really see the two structures, the doctor's home, which serves as his office, and the rectory, where Alma and her family live. Alma is one of the main characters, and her dad's the town priest. These two buildings are right next to each other, and only separated by a small lawn. So one place where you go to fix the body, and one place where you go to fix your soul. Right next to each other.
Alrighty.
So let me introduce the two main characters. I already said her name. Miss Alma Wine-Miller. Like I said, she's the daughter of the town's Episcopal and probably only clergyman. Alma has taken up much of the duties of being the wife of the priest. In Alma's youth, her mother had a mental breakdown, which is suggested to have been caused by the pressures of being a priest's wife. In a small town, in fact, right? Like, that's a whole job on its own. The mother now is in something of a childlike state, obsessed with ice cream, and entertained by the wickedness of those around her.
The wickedness.
Oh, she's always like, fight, fight, fight. Oh, God, it's funny. So therefore, Alma's character seems to have matured beyond her years and is easily embarrassed, and is treated by the town doctor for her anxiety.
Not hysteria.
Oh, they talked about hysteria many,
good,
many
okay.
times. Well, you women in your hysterics. It is said about Alma several times that she, quote, puts on airs. I think at some point she's referenced as having an accent that's different than the rest of town. But she's never been schooled. She's never been anywhere. I think of it more like a mid-Atlantic accent in the Mississippi Delta.
So Moira from Schitt's Creek in the middle of Louisiana. Gotcha.
Yes. Williams describes her at some point as having a short and peculiar airy laugh before and after many of her sentences. Oh, can I have a lemonade? Oh.
That sounds like another sound.
Yeah? My mother called it sitting on a feather.
She's sitting on a feather.
She said it just like that, too.
I have a feeling Williams has some word in there for that. Probably. I wouldn't know. Alma is also known for her singing voice and teaches voice lessons to younger girls in town. Okay, so that's Alma.
All right.
The other character is Dr. John Buchanan Jr. He's a childhood friend of Alma's, and both of them are in early adulthood. Dr. Johnny, as I like to call him, is described as handsome and having something of an aloof and careless air about him. He's expected to take over his father's business, but Johnny has other plans in mind. Very early on, we do get the idea that Johnny seems to be led by carnal pleasures and some level of vice. He enjoys pleasures more than he does responsibilities. So the rest of the characters, in my opinion, are really just kind of supporting characters for these two. Like, they just are there to help these two along in this excerpt of their lives. Even Alma's parents and John's father, the doctor, John Sr., they are there to just keep these characters on their toes as they each explore themselves in the world. But I'll talk about those characters as we go along. The play opens on a 4th of July celebration. Alma has just finished singing some patriotic tunes with the town band. She speaks with her mother and father, who just heard the concert, and she's telling them about how nervous and terrible she must have sounded, but they couldn't hear anything like that in her singing. Know anybody like that?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, it must have sounded awful. Mother and father soon leave, but John Jr., Johnny, has been on stage the whole time, kind of keeping himself out of sight, but also keeping attention on Alma. And Alma has definitely noticed, but she tries not to draw his attention. John finds a firecracker. It's 4th of July, lights it, throws it behind Alma to scare her, get her attention, and then he hollers at some imaginary child as though he wasn't just trying to break the ice. I can't believe you've done that! Get back here! And she's all aflutter, right?
So basically, he pulled her pigtails.
Uh-huh, yep.
Okay.
The two introduce us to themselves, much as I just introduced them to you, and the issue of John taking over his father's business is discussed, but John isn't too keen on the idea. He feels like he has more to do in this world. But he also continues to point his attention towards Alma, and at one point giving something of a mock doctor's inspection, which she thoroughly eats up. You know, he's like, "Oh, let me examine you for a moment." Oh, she's all excited about it.
With her little tittery laugh.
Oh. His conclusion is that she does suffer from some affliction. She must have a doppelganger, which he doesn't exactly explain, and she doesn't really ask for clarification, but he says, "That's definitely what's going on with you. You have a doppelganger." She just seems to be delighted that he's taking interest in her for that moment.
Okay.
Now, at some point, a young Latina girl enters. Her name is Rosa Gonzalez, and she is revealed to be the daughter of the owner of a nearby casino on Moon Lake, where it's described that, quote, "anything goes." Rosa is accompanied by a strong wind, which cools things off during this hot summer day in Mississippi, and she exchanges a meaningful exchange with John, just silent, like that, something's between them. This is how Williams describes Rosa's entrance. Quote, "As if brought by this courier from the tropics, Rosa Gonzalez enters from right. Her indolent walk produces a sound and an atmosphere like the Gulf wind on the palmettos, a whispering of silk and a slight rattle of metallic ornaments."
Ooh.
Can he write my entrance?
I
I was
know.
gonna say.
I'm just like, so we got a Zumba instructor.
No, I'm thinking more.
Belly dancer.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And honestly, I'm surprised he didn't like describe her perfume.
Or her proportions.
I mean, it's obvious. This is an alluring figure.
Yes.
It's very obvious, you know. In any case, she is not the only young woman who seems to be taken by John. Alma's voice student Nellie comes in, and having been treated by John a couple times while in his doctor's office, there's some obvious admiration from the young girl about the handsome, barely grown-up doctor. And Alma notices this and suggests that John may be better off if he's going to eventually take over his father's business. Well, that he could join her on Wednesday nights for a regular meeting of some townspeople in the community. They get together and they share new things from the world, poetry and other literature, current events. It's a book club.
It's a salon.
Yeah, there we go. Yep. And they're going to share ideas and talk about things that stir the soul. As they leave the park separately, it's very obvious that John is going to go find Rosa before the night's over and just see where the night leads. That's your introduction to these two characters.
Boy.
Okay. In the next scene, Alma is visiting John's father, John Sr., the doctor, for an update on her condition. During this scene, John Sr. accuses Alma of being in love. Oh, his jaw just dropped. And she can't keep the secret forever. John Sr. asks Alma about the man she's currently seeing. You know, she's got a gentleman caller. This man is a young man named Roger Doremus, as Williams described as a small man, somewhat like a sparrow.
So we have this hulking, beautiful man and a little tiny wispy guy.
Yeah. He plays the French horn in the town band.
So he's writing him very emasculated.
Yeah. No, he's a man. He's a good young man. Roger is actually the Sunday school superintendent, so he comes by quite often. But he's from another town, so he's not often in Glorious Hill. And Alma informs John Sr. that Roger is in banking and has a promising future there. John Sr. makes some sort of vague reference towards, yes, he seems like the kind of man that would do well in banking. A wet blanket. That's all I.
The CPA with the green visor and the armbands and
I like to call those boring bills.
What's boring about being the top salesman in the quarter for?
Not a. Sorry.
Good for you, Roger. However, being a physician, John Sr. then inquires about Alma's interest in this man during intimate times. Alma is astonished, and John Sr. suggests that she should consider these things if she's going to consider marriage with the man, as they actually are somewhat important to the ongoing happiness of her relationship. it becomes fairly obvious that Alma's not really interested in Roger, but rather obviously John Jr., which is somewhat irritating to John Sr. because he knows what his son's up to. In fact, I think at the scene he's actually moved all of his son's stuff to a hotel in town. And he's like, I don't want him, he can just find it down there. And then John Jr. comes back, he has an exchange with his father, and the father's like, you'll find your stuff at the Alhambra Motel. And he says, whatever you decide, Father. Oh, we'll take your stuff back then. Because it didn't work. Time passes, and we next see Alma impulsively making a phone call across the lawn to invite John Jr. to the meeting of her group, which is going to be that evening. She's astonished when he actually shows up. Some of the fellow group members have already brought some stuff to read, but when John shows up, Alma has cleverly manufactured a vote in the group to have most of the material that they have tabled until a forthcoming meeting, just so she can recite this poem by William Blake. Are you familiar with William Blake at all? Very fascinating figure. I just watched the movie Red Dragon again, and his painting of like the big dragon monster man is a primary focus of that thing. So he's very interested in like the dark, but also kind of sensualism. This is the poem she reads when handsome young doctor comes. Never seek to tell thy love, love that never told can be, for the gentle wind doth move silently, invisibly. I told my love, I told my love, I told him with all my heart. Trembling, cold, and ghastly fear did my love depart. No sooner had he gone from me than a stranger passing by, silently, invisibly, took him with a sigh.
Wow.
That's bold.
Yeah.
Okay, why do you say that? Why do you say that's so bold for her?
It's bold for her from the role that she's in her life, right?
Oh, like the priest's daughter, and okay,
and like probably the just like that step to take in that way, right? Like leadership of this like group, and then being like, okay, we're gonna table this, and then like it's like a bold call to like say, hey, I'm into you. I watch you leave with this other woman, and like I'm kind of bummed about it. Mm-hmm. Not so many words.
But also, it's not fully saying like, what are you doing later? It's
flirting without flirting.
It's flirting with brains, which is not often where the best flirting comes from.
No, but it is where the prettiest flirting comes
That's
from.
true.
That's where poetry comes from.
Yeah. William Blake. So anyway, the group, they all applaud, except for John, who stands and leaves very abruptly, leaving his fabulous linen coat behind. Like, Williams does this great job of describing him like he has put himself into a very handsome suit. He's got a great hat, and then he leaves the coat. Just doesn't matter. Come on, it's like leaving your phone, right?
It's the leave behind.
Mm-hmm. Alma's quite frazzled and tries to chase John with his coat in hand, but to no avail. She comes back and the group soon dissipates. The next scene is later that night, around 2 a.m. We first see John and Rosa in the doctor's office. John is instructing Rosa on how to bandage his arm, which has some sort of nasty wound, which we can only assume he got tearing up the town with Rosa somehow. Alma comes to the door and knocks. John sneaks Rosa out the back and to wait for him, and he lets Alma in, and Alma's in quite a state. She says she's so anxious that she can't sleep and demands to see John Sr. John Jr. consistently denies permission, but offers to aid her himself. Both of you are nodding knowingly, like, yeah, the doctor move. He drops a couple pills in water to dissolve and offers it to her, saying it'll help. Never tells her what it is. She asks, he says, it'll help you. She initially refuses, but after some more flirtations, she gulps it down happily. And it does start to just calm her down. What transpires from here is one of the most melodramatic romance moments that Williams has ever written, in my opinion. He tries to calm her down by appealing to her academic sensibilities first, reminding her that she is just a little speck in a vast universe, and that these issues that trouble her are so small in passing that they really shouldn't be bothersome at all.
So he's mansplaining to her. He's talking down to her and mansplaining.
Oh my
to her.
God. With the term, the Magellanic Cloud is thousands of light years away because he's seen it in some telescope in astronomy.
So somebody taught him a word.
I read this in a book.
Yep.
I read this in the book, and I'm smart, and I hear you like smart, man.
Yeah.
Okay. Somehow, John gently gets his hand on Alma's wrist and is concerned about her heart rate. He says that she had better sit down and unbutton the top of her blouse so he can listen to her heart.
Those sexy wrists we talk about. Earlier.
Yeah, the sexy wrists.
That works? Okay, I'm going to write that down. She fumbles a bit with the buttons in her obvious excitement, but eventually gets a couple loose, just enough for a stethoscope to get through. And John listens and responds with a, mm-hmm. And Alma asks what John's hearing, and he responds by saying, just a little voice saying, Miss Alma is lonesome.
Oh, no.
So he's got Rosa on the back porch and Miss Alma reaching down her blouse.
Yeah. Yeah.
And offering the cheesiest,
Yes.
cheesiest lines.
And she absolutely.
eating it up.
Oh my God. Well, she soon calms right the hell down.
Right.
Either by means of the drug or by means of John's care for her, saying, those tablets work quickly. I'm already feeling drowsy. I'm beginning to feel almost like a water lily on a Chinese lagoon.
You sure she didn't get a case of the vapors while she was talking? Good golly.
I mean, this is the sexiest moment she's ever had.
Yep.
It's true.
That's
Yes.
very true, and he's playing it pretty decently. Okay, there was one euphemism that Williams used in writing this play that I forgot to incorporate into the episode, so I'll have to let Valeri and Asia know that they have to listen to the episode to catch it. At one point, young Dr. Johnny describes pleasurable activity between two lovers as, quote, connubial felicity. Isn't that just lovely? Not dirty at all. But while we're stopped, I'd like you to check out Asia's Instagram feed for the Pleasure Disco or the Civic Theater Guild's Instagram feed, both of which can be found in the show notes. Same for Euripides Humanities and Trident Theater. You'll get to see pictures of all of us and see what we're doing. But let's get back to Valeri Hovland and Asia Stockwell again for the remainder of this episode, Play Spotlight, Summer and Smoke by Tennessee Williams. Anyway, before she leaves, John convinces her that he will take her out on a date this coming Saturday, which they do. And it couldn't be more disastrous. You see, in the first scene of this play, John subtly suggests that he'll take her for a ride in his automobile, which he is really looking forward to. Now, weeks later, he finally keeps his promise, and the ride makes her a nervous wreck. Because at one point, he says, yeah, I think I got it up to 100. I don't think he can do that with cars and...
Not that old.
No.
Not yeah.
But nonetheless, it was fast for her
Yes.
and exciting. It's certainly not improved where he takes her. The casino on Moon Lake. He already has a waiter setting up their table before they arrive, and it's overlooking the water, and the moon on the water, and oh my God. And he even orders some liquor to the table. And she said, every now and then she might have some claret in the punch at her little gatherings. So there's some liquor going on. He's mostly excited to inspire her to not be a preacher's daughter all the time, which she outright refuses. Because he's going, I know I'm the doctor's son, but I don't act like it all the time. What he's really excited for, though, is the cockfight they're both about to watch in the casino. And you don't tell your date you're going to go watch a cockfight. I promise a good night out.
Yeah. Not my thing, but
Now, she continues to suggest that her interest in him is much more refined than that he should be concerned about his public image if he's ever going to take over his father's business. She relates this to him by suggesting that he should more emulate a Gothic cathedral in which everything seems to be bigger than life and every element of the cathedral seems to be reaching up towards a higher state of being as it reaches and reaches for hope. She says, who was it that said that? Oh, so beautiful a thing. All of us are in the gutter, but some of us are looking up at the stars. John replies, Mr. Oscar Wilde. One of the naughtiest
Yeah,
playwrights.
yeah.
I mean, and I've done the episode on his trials, and he was.
Yes, he was quite the man.
He was, well, that's a way to put it.
Yes.
And he was quite the man to a lot of other men.
Yes, he was. He was a slut.
Yes, yeah. Well, this is quite upsetting to Alma. He then inquires about the few men with whom she's had serious relationships with. Now, I don't think he's asking, like, how was it in the bedroom? He's just like, tell me about how serious you've gotten with these other men. She claims that there was a desert between each of them and her.
Oh, boy. That's very telling.
That is very
That's
telling.
very telling. Yeah.
And I think he even says, a what? And she says, a vast amount of land that has no vegetation.
See,
Dry as a bone.
I was thinking dry as a bone. Yeah. He inspired.
She was not turned on.
Yeah, they inspired aridness, not moisture.
Yeah. That's what that is.
She's either looking in the wrong place or looking at the wrong team.
True.
But, I mean, that's dating to a degree. But if she's currently saying this Roger DeRemus,
Bankers are not necessarily unsexy.
yeah. Eventually, John gets himself right in front of her and lifts the veil on her hat. She asks why he's doing it, and he replies that he's going to kiss her, which he does. And initially, she just allows him to do it and then leans into it. But even then, she implores him to think of himself as more than just a sexual being, and that he regard any partner he'd marry in the same regard. To which he replies that there's more to a couple than just respect of one another, and then turns the discussion to general intimacy between partners. At this point, the cockfight begins inside.
Well, that's a very apt metaphor because he's trying to talk about intimacy, and that is very much used as slang for male body parts. So it's very good.
So the cockfight became a cock block?
No. the fight being the intimacy. Yeah.
Ooh.
The sacred fight.
Yeah.
The sensual fight.
Well, it starts, and then there's this uproar of applause from inside.
We all want that.
Just suggesting. But John suggests that they don't even need to attend the cockfight anymore, and that there are some rooms upstairs.
They have their own cockfight.
Want to play swords? Alma then demands that he calls her a taxi for home immediately, right as soon as he suggests there's some rooms upstairs, which he does. Goes and calls for a taxi. She then leaves shouting, "You're not a gentleman." End of part one.
He absolutely is. He called her a taxi.
Exactly. You know, I mean, obviously this isn't going to happen.
Yeah.
Not tonight. She says, call me a ride home. Okay. So what do you think so far?
I'm intrigued, for sure.
It definitely has a lot of issues and things that are absolutely still relevant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to try to get through part 2 fairly rapidly, because this play is touted as a play in 2 parts, not act 1 and act 2. They like part 1, scene 1, and most of Williams' stuff is a series of scenes, and at some point you get the idea, okay, here's a good point for an intermission. But so, yeah, I'll try to get through part 2 fairly rapidly, because there's a lot that happens to give us some really spectacular scenes, but it's a lot of information that's packed into it pretty quick to get us to the place where we need to be. Okay. So, after the night at the casino, some time has passed. It's no longer summer, and it's transitioned to autumn. The doctor's house is alive with music and sounds of celebration. Flamenco music, as I recall. We learn that this is because John and Rosa are to be married. It is rumored that this is only set up to pay Rosa's father back for John's gambling debts at his casino. Early in the scene, Alma calls for a message to be delivered to John Sr., who is in the nearby town of Lyon, Mississippi, which is a real town, curing a fever. He's the doctor. He shows up by the end of the scene and gets into a squabble with the very drunk Mr. Gonzalez, Rosa's father, and Gonzalez ends up shooting John Sr.
Dead?
Eventually.
Oh, boy.
The next scene is in the morning in the doctor's home, where Alma's father is Alma's father, the priest, is offering a prayer over the dying John Sr.
That's right.
John Jr. and Alma get into an argument as they both blame each other for the state of things. Alma blames Johnny because of his predilection for debauchery and lechery, and John blames Alma for calling her father in the first place. He never would have got shot if you didn't bring him back.
Yeah.
She never would have called him.
If you weren't being a lecherous boob.
Yeah, exactly. This is when John explains to Alma one more essential piece of scenery, an anatomy chart in his office, and demands that Alma looks at it. So it's a very rudimentary thing. Turn of the century stuff. It's like, basically a silhouette of a guy, and it's like, here's your heart, here's your lungs, here's your intestines, all that stuff. She's reluctant to do so because of all those guts and everything, and it's improper to look at that kind of stuff. But she eventually does. John demands it. He explains to her that there are 3 essential parts to the human body. Asia, you can weigh in on this. The brain, the stomach, and the groin. And all 3 have particular needs. If any one of them goes lacking, the person ends up being sick in a variety of different ways. But remember, he's hungover and very angry when he explains this anatomy lesson, as I call it. He says that he's fed all 3 of those needs to excess at this point and accuses Alma of not feeding any of them. And that's why she's always been so anxious her whole life.
So I would agree, except for I would switch the stomach to the heart. So
okay.
And not so much like the mind, as in like the thinking mind, but like the higher mind, right?
Yeah,
it's like the third eye mind, the heart, and then the sexual center, sexual energy.
Yeah, I mean he suggests that whatever watery substance she's been putting into her stomach has been keeping her alive, and that's how she's feeding her stomach. But yes, I love this idea of the heart kind of thing, because Alma retorts that she acknowledges this anatomy lesson, but that there's something in the body that can't be seen in a chart. John mocks her for suggesting that a soul has anything to do with human drives and desires. She replies that she did love him and loved him for all of her life, and until that moment at the casino, she admitted to loving John with her entire soul, and he broke that in her.
Wow, that's deep.
Right? Right? It's not just 2 dumb 20-somethings like, I'm trying to find out if we're a thing. It's like, there was something here, but we're both looking for the different thing.
She connected to him and he broke it.
Yeah. Well, he was also looking at...
he was looking to feed and she was looking to connect.
Ah!
Yeah,
That's a
yeah.
great
Well, just the 2 different aspects of like the human being, right? Like the spiritual and the physical. And
Yes.
so he was definitely more physical, and she was more spiritual connection.
Yeah, and love has different values and depths, and
Right.
they weren't on the same page.
No.
Yeah.
But this is where John admits that in the course of the evening at the casino, he wouldn't have been able to make love to her. He couldn't. Because it was that night he finally started to realize that there might have been more to her than just anatomy. And that if he would have taken her to bed, he might have ruined her. He stomps out, and the 2 of them are just absolutely inconsolable. Let's have some real talk finally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just fascinating. Okay, it gets so much more interesting. In the next scene, we find out that weeks have gone by, and we're nearing Thanksgiving. We see that Alma has become something of a shell of her former self. She's disheveled. She looks as though she is working on recuperating from an illness. Like her hair is down and kind of all over the place, and I think it said she's just like wearing a robe, but you can see her pajamas underneath and everything. She just doesn't look her best. And beyond that, we don't know if she has anything physically wrong with her. It is learned that John Sr. has died from his gunshot wound. It must have been weeks before. And that John Jr. took up his work curing the fever in Lyon, which he does. He returns to town a hero for curing this fever and is greeted with a great celebration, including a marching band, which had to include Roger Doremus. I just like to think that. When Alma first sees him out the window, she collapses, coming to just a few moments later. John is then greeted as the hero by Nellie. Now, you remember Nellie? Nellie was
The student.
Alma's voice student. And I haven't talked about her, but she's, she's just a few years younger than the two main characters. But there's absolutely this, like, very youthful sexuality about her, but not necessarily like a prettiness. That's kind of how Williams describes her. But she's totally infatuated with the handsome young doctor. She's currently home on Thanksgiving break from her boarding school. And she basically throws herself on him as a welcome back gift. And he's not all that reluctant.
Yeah.
She promises to see him again when she comes back for Christmas. And oh God, there was this lovely little exchange where they're in the doctor's office and she's like, look at my tongue. And she sticks her tongue out like you would in a doctor's office. And he says, it is absolutely red. And she's like, well, those are from the cherry candies that I suck whenever I think I'm going to kiss somebody. And then they just,
How absurd.
I'm going to use that line.
They're sucrets, honey.
Yeah.
Now, several weeks later, after Alma's had this just terrifying revelation, had collapsed, fainted, comes to, doesn't realize what has happened. Several weeks later, we see her in the park by the Angel, and she's bracing herself as if against a really harsh December wind, but she's obviously much healthier. She's approached by Nellie, who is home on her Christmas break now. Nellie gives Alma a very neatly wrapped Christmas gift of a perfumed handkerchief. Nellie also reminds Alma to read the card, which she dropped, and the card's addressed from John and Nellie.
Oh, boy.
Oh, boy. His eyes just got really big.
I thought he was getting married to the Mexican girl.
I think
that went to shit when her
when
dad shot his
okay. I mean, it's the South. That kind of thing happens.
I mean, how do you get the families together at holiday times? You remember when you shot my dad? So Alma thanks Nellie for the gift, and the scene ends. We next see Alma visiting the new Dr. John as he's setting up new equipment in the doctor's office, over which he's now taken control. She says her visit is to thank him for recognizing the affliction he diagnosed her with the past summer, a doppelganger. She admits she didn't know at the time what that meant, but she says that after their falling out, after the completion of the anatomy lesson, the old her began dying. And when she saw him return from Lyon as a hero, the old version of her completely died, and the new version, which could see the need for human intimacy, was reborn. Or born entirely, not reborn. Unfortunately, John admits that the incident had the opposite effect on him. He realizes that he wouldn't have been able to make love to her on the first date because he began to realize that Alma was the true embodiment of her namesake. The word Alma is Spanish for soul. The two struggle with this new reality that they've completely switched places. When Nellie comes in and spills the beans about their upcoming nuptials, Alma's already figured this out, wishes them well, and leaves. Last scene. Later that afternoon, Alma visits the angel statue in the park again, at the same time as a traveling salesman. The two start to have a brief conversation. She admits to the stranger that she's taking her sleeping pills, as prescribed by Dr. Johnny, to calm her nerves down, as that afternoon, she tells him she won an argument that she never wanted to win. The salesman then admits that he's on his first job and he's nervous that he won't do well. And immediately, Williams interjects these stage directions, quote, "That mysteriously sudden intimacy that sometimes occurs between strangers more completely than old friends or lovers moves them both." The salesman soon asks, what's there to do for fun in this little town? Alma replies that, well, there's great fun at the casino, especially in the rooms above it.
Well.
Wow.
The salesman says, then what in the hell are we sitting here for? And promptly leaves the stage, followed by Alma, who regards the statue before she leaves, described by Williams. She faces the stone angel and raises her hand in sort of a valedictory salute, then turns and starts up the steps as the curtain falls. and that is Summer and Smoke.
Interesting.
So are you gonna try to do this now?
I would so love, like, okay, I'm going to say it again. I said it at the beginning. I think this play should be considered when you're telling people you need to read Williams. When you need to read Williams and understand what he's about. This play checks off all the boxes for me, much more so directly than Glass Menagerie, Streetcar, Cat on a Hot Tin Roof, Night of the Iguana, The Rose Tattoo. I mean, this one to me is like, we found the sensuality. We're talking about it. We're talking about the difficulty of having sensuality and the intellect meet.
And spirituality.
And spirituality.
And then they cross and change and fall away and
Right.
and evolve.
Right. I read one blog today that I absolutely disagreed with. This woman was saying, like, she spent a lot of time working on Alma, and she was saying that, and now she realizes that the one man she could ever truly love is gone. I'm like, bullshit.
No, she learned she has the ability to love other men.
Right.
Yeah.
In many ways.
Yeah.
In many ways. But I mean, those other plays are brilliant, but I would argue that, like, they make the watcher or reader go through a lot more to understand the themes than this play actually does. The search for sensuality, putting interpersonal attractions under a microscope, finding the poetry of our world. And this one blew me away when I went back and after reading the synopsis and thinking about it, the portraiture of women after World War II. Like, she had this role set up, I mean, she might have been like a rung or two down from Scarlett O'Hara, frankly. But, she knew her place. Mm-hmm. She knew it was all about propriety. She's the preacher's daughter. Mother can't do the job anymore, so I've got to do it. So here she is, way older than her years, and hasn't had any fun.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
She was going from the preacher's daughter to the preacher's wife.
Yeah. So what do you think? Summer and Smoke.
I'd watch it.
I would watch it.
I mean, can you? We've all been on stage at this point. We've all, they talk a lot about the character arc, like where do you start, where do you end, and we can very obviously say, well, John started with sensuality and he moved to spirituality pretty quickly, or not really quickly, but it took a tragedy to make him understand it, and then he moved. So I had this acting teacher in college who liked to say a lot of wise things. I don't really consider him wise. I think he took most of the wise things he said out of a book. But this one has always stuck with me. And I when I teach acting, a long time ago, somebody said, love and hate, whatever, it's all passion. I'm like, oh, that's so interesting. And this acting teacher, when he described this, would draw a vertical line on chalkboard and then like a circle all the way around it, like take the top of the circle, put it in the middle of the line, and then draw it all the way around. And on one side is love, and on one side is hate. And they are as close together as that, just on one side of the line each. But you have to go through the entire range of emotions to get from one to the other. They are the same level of intensity, but you have to go that far. And I just think, well, I mean, here you are. How do I say this? When I was in Seattle working professionally, I got a lot of roles, unfortunately, because I'm a white man. And there are just a lot of plays and a lot of theaters out there that were like, well, we need a white man.
Yep.
A lot of people who probably shouldn't have gotten parts that I saw also got it for that. And I'm like, well, why does it say this character is white? Could we get this other Asian guy who's actually really amazing? Yeah, but it doesn't. Just think outside the box a bit. Mm-hmm. This has such a rich part for a woman.
Oh, yeah.
An amazing part. I mean, I look at John, I'm like, that. I don't know how much. I mean, obviously, I'd find a lot to do with it, but I don't know how much it isn't a huge arc.
His range is not wide.
Yeah.
No.
And the woman that would be Alma, you would want her to first pass as a new director. I would want somebody motherly, but as you read more into her, I would really want somebody who was not aware of their sexuality.
Oh.
Mother could be great, but somebody who's not aware of their sexuality, somebody who hasn't grown into their own yet, and that they could grow along with this character. And I think it would be fun to see, like when we do intimacy, when we talk about Rocky, those people really get into it. I think somebody who is young in their appearance, but also in their self-discovery, so that they could grow along with
in
it.
their experience with sensualism in the
Yeah.
world.
Yeah. I don't necessarily wouldn't want a mother or somebody worldly. I think it'd be fun to see somebody grow with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would be afraid for that actor.
Afterwards. Depending on who they were, yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, it's just, it's a fascinating thing to me. I mean, he writes these wonderful parts for women. I mean,
They are very multifaceted.
Blanche Dubois, Amanda in Glass Menagerie, Maggie the Cat on a Hot Tin Roof. These are all wonderful female parts. But you know, Asia being as new to this as you kind of are, like, what would you think would be most of the challenge for playing an Alma or seeing an Alma on stage?
I feel like a lot of like repressed sexuality.
Oh man.
Versus like the naivete, is that the word?
Naivete,
like, yeah. So it's like, because it's like, it feels to me like she's aware of it, like based off of the like the anatomy lesson, and then when she was like the invite to go upstairs, and she's like no, like you're not a gentleman, and like her upbringing, right, and being in the role that she's in, and the spirituality and all that. It's like, no, women don't do this, for one, and also we know the story with all of that. So it feels to me like it's it would be like it's like a repression of her sexuality more than the other side. And so it's, I think like the challenge that I would see for her would be like kind of like, and you're talking about coming, like the arc of her coming into fruition, right? It would be
where she starts and where she ends.
And like, I guess highlighting that in the way that feels true to her, by still like feeling like the truth of her spirituality in her life, and then also like seeing that yes, there is this other part of the she says that there is this other part of the human as well. It's this anatomy that I was like basically denying, but it is true. So I guess that.
Well, it's interesting you say that. I'm trying to think back. I didn't write it down here, but I think it might have been Williams, but it might have been somebody else that I read as I was getting ready for this, comparing ignorance and repression. In that, like in ignorance is there's a thing you don't know, but you're not looking to figure it out.
Yeah.
Repression is you know it, but you're trying to tell yourself you don't.
Yeah.
And that is you lying to you.
Yeah. 100%.
So, I mean, that's so interesting that you think about that. When we go right back to the beginning. She's embarrassed by just any slight infraction she has on her own character when nobody's noticing it. The second scene we see, she's going to the doctor, and I've got this affliction. I don't know what's wrong with me. And he's like, you need to be intimate. That's pretty much it. And I don't see that with any of the guys you're dating.
Well, and wasn't it after that then she had John Jr. come to the meeting and she recited the poem?
She read that poem.
Yeah. So like that was like a kind of like a reach out of like, like, okay, like I'm like dipping my toe in the water, right? Or like trying to like open the door and expand into this space, but still have it be like through poetry, not so many like blatant words, right? About but like, let's just go get intimate together. Let's go upstairs to these rooms in this, the moonlight place.
Moonlight Casino. Yeah. One thing I will say is that having read this again, one thing that's very interesting is there is no mention of the situation of saving yourself from marriage.
Interesting.
None of it.
That's true. This is all premarital sex.
Yeah, because and she's asked about her other dates or her other like relationships, right? And then talking about like, indirectly what was the intimate life like? And it was
she
like
could,
the desert.
Yeah, she could answer that it was a desert. So obviously she's stuck a toe in that water.
Yeah.
Or lack of water.
Oh, man. Oh, that's just the one thing I never want to hear on a date is how you doing? It's like a desert.
It's like a desert.
Well, I think addressing that this is that it's neither saving nor it actually is premarital sex is kind of that getting out of that pre-war bottle where women were starting to explore things and they were having some agency with their own lives.
Yeah.
So without saying it, he said it, because I think if it had been in print, it would have been received differently.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, we hadn't even had suffrage yet at that point.
Right.
So, I mean, if we're talking turn of the century to 1916, you know, this is a woman the idea's there, but I'm not sure if I should talk about it.
Right. But if it had named it, I think it would have been received entirely differently.
I think so. Oh, and when you see this play performed, it's extraordinary. Here, I'll tell you a couple more things about the play. It didn't do very good on Broadway. It premiered in 1948 after Menagerie and Streetcar had already done really, really well. So he gives us almost a more watered down.
It would be anticlimactic invert with those seeing those first. Yeah.
Right. But it did find some appeal off Broadway several years later. It was adapted into a film. Geraldine Page won the Oscar for playing Alma in 1961. But since its original Broadway premiere, it's now been performed in many markets all over the world. People seem to like it. People seem to love it. And, you know, I'll tell this one short story before we end because it's really funny. The first time I saw this, well, I'll tell two. The first time I saw it, I was in high school, and it was given by, we had some drama trip to a college somewhere. And they put it on, and somebody got really clever with the stars. You know, how Williams talks about the stars, and they should be projected. Well, some great technical director had a very long stage from front to back, and had stars hanging from wires. They were all LEDs, and they were at different depths.
Oh, fun.
That's the only thing I looked at during that entire play. Because I was just like, oh, that's interesting. What are these people talking about? Sex? Oh, okay. That's cool with the 3D stars.
So that goes back to the sensuality and sexuality as it relates to a teenage boy.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh?
Yeah.
But the next time I saw it was at one of my alma maters, Casper College, and Tom Empey, who is kind of the namesake for the show, directed it, and it was utterly fascinating. It was so good. But I took my biological father, who I have not really spoken to in about 10 years, and this is one of the reasons why. He had addiction to a couple things, himself, other women, and pot. And so halfway through this play, he leans over to me and goes, God, somebody ought to take that girl to bed. Oh. And I'm like, God, you're right, but if it weren't you saying...
Oh, man. So my best friend in high school, her and I went to see a play. She was very much a rudimentary person. I was the artsy-fartsy one. We're sitting in the front row of a production, and, you know, they're standing there face to face, and they're about to be super intimate, and she's going, kiss her! Kiss her! And the actors did their best not to break, and that just reminded me of that moment.
Oh, okay. Here, I'll put a cap on this whole thing. I learned how terrible it is to do Shakespeare in front of a high school crowd when they are called out of class to come see it. Many, many years ago, I did a Romeo and Juliet, and we wanted students to come see it, so we had all of the English teachers say, first period, if you want to, come down and watch. We'll be doing the first act of the show. And this, towards the end of it, Romeo and Juliet kiss. And these guys are just being jerks the entire time because they got out of class.
Right.
And they're just, and so my Juliet, who I'm still friends with, is still mortified about this to this day. But the two young people, they're very good looking, and they're leaning in for that kiss, and some jackass in the back goes, "Yeah, get some!" And they kissed, and the whole crowd erupted into applause, and I never felt more ashamed and proud as a director.
At least the teenager felt something.
They liked
That's
it.
true. That's true.
Ooh.
All I can think right now is I wish Alma all the best in her new endeavors. Because if Williams is telling us anything with Summer and Smoke, it's to warn us about the dangers of extremism in anything, particularly spirituality or sexuality. I want to thank Valeri, Hovland, and Asia Stockwell for joining me on this episode. I hope you go back and listen to those Rocky Horror 23 episodes where you'll hear from both of them again. But for now, I'll sign off. This has been another episode of Euripides Eumenides, a theater history podcast. I have been your host, Aaron Odom. Another episode will be in your ears in a fortnight, and I will see you at intermission.